Prized letters. Continuation of letter number 6. You may wonder how it is possible to have such enormous, universal impulses within a state of equilibrium. They are in a state of equal and mutual restraint, the bonding, nurturing love impulse holding, binding the creative, active will under control. I can only explain this phenomenon in the following simple terms. If you place the palm of one hand on top of the palm of the other, with fingertips of each hand touching the wrist of the other hand, and then try to separate them but still keep them tightly flat on each other, you will gain some idea of the meaning of equilibrium or mutual restraint. Furthermore, you must realize that although your hands are apparently expressing a physical phenomena, they are actually governed by and expressing impulses emanating from your brain. In addition, your brain may be the vehicle of expressing conscious ideas, impulses, but in fact, the impulse is the reality of all movement of any kind, not the physical brain, which is only an instrument of expression of such impulses. I have given you only an intellectual account of universal consciousness. How can I describe for you the latent power, the magnificence of reverence, the rapture, the radiant joy, the state of utter contentment, and peace and harmony of its being? Even if you can contemplate and realize that out of this immensity of consciousness, the entire universe has drawn life and form, you cannot perceive more than an electron of the vast, immeasurable, joyous reality of universal consciousness. To fully understand the nature of creation, the reasons why the ego functions as it does, why created entities feel the urges they feel, it must be understood that the nature and quality of universal consciousness is radiant joy, fulfillment, happiness. This is what I termed the kingdom of heaven within you, within your soul, within the deepest recesses of your psyche, which is the intermediary between the radiance of your soul and the shadow self of ego. To return to this transcendent state of glorious, beautiful, happy, harmonious being is your soul's deepest longing. It is this enduring longing, this inborn unconscious recollection of equilibrium and peace, joy and harmony, which, through the psyche, prompts the ego to manipulate the environment on your behalf. Its consistent purpose is to bring you back to your primal original state of glorious ecstasy out of which you drew your soul, being, and form. But the ego can bring about your desired joy and pleasure only by means of the two magnetic emotional bonding rejection impulses, which are only materialized impulses to give you your individuality. Therefore, the inborn longing to rejoin the source of being is experienced in the electromagnetic parameters of thought and feeling as more, more, more of what gave you a pleasurable feeling previously. More friends, more house, car, clothes, etc. Each time the more has been achieved, there is a little glow of satisfaction, perhaps a showing off to the neighbors to heighten the happiness, gaining one up on them, and another little glow, and then the novelty dies away. The new possession becomes mundane. The senses are again at rest, in equilibrium. Mental tiredness sets in. Routine becomes dull and boring. To generate some life, the ego finds another goal to be achieved to provide excitement and pleasure. Thus, life is an endless chase for personal satisfaction of various kinds, leaving the hidden soul starved, unsatisfied, still longing for something more. But what is it my deepest self is craving? You ask in desperation. When a person reaches an understanding of the true source of emptiness and continual inner craving for more of what made me feel good before, and begins to meditate to make contact with that which brought him or her into being, a little of the divine equilibrium filters through the human consciousness. The emptiness begins to recede. If indeed such a person catches a true glimpse of the eternal and the true goal in life, the longing for more possessions will eventually die a natural death. The desire for more possessions will be gradually replaced with a sincere appreciation of what you already have and a sense of consistent contentment. Through experiences of the miraculous interventions or activity of divine consciousness within the daily life, the human consciousness is greatly uplifted and learns that its daily needs are met in the very best way. Faith is increased and joy enhanced. This is why I have said to you, I have not come to teach you positive thinking, to draw into your orbit the things you want and need. I have come to you expressly to lead you back into the kingdom of heaven. However, it is not only in the matter of desiring more possessions for yourself that your soul is bound down within its secret dwelling place. The ego also uses the magnetic emotional drive to repel, reject, to ensure your individuality, privacy, and safety. This impulse takes on numerous forms designed to give you a feeling of superiority or elitism, or protecting you from people whom you consider to be undesirable or having less social status than yourself. This ego drive is practiced continually and was thought to be perfectly acceptable, even by the churches. The truth is, when the soul begins to gain a little control over the ego drive, it will chide, it will chide the human personality for its selfishness and exclusivity. It will urge the psyche towards the adoption of unconditional love and a belief in universality and oneness of all people, no matter who they may be. Perhaps now you can more easily understand how and why the creation of your individuality through the medium of the ego formed the great physical impulses, capsule, which produced and enclosed your human consciousness, creating both your physical form and your human personality. Since it governs your mind and emotions, thoughts and feelings, it prevents you from making contact with the source of your life and your soul. Number 4, your true purpose in life. Your true purpose in life is to gain the mastery of your ego by reaching out in thought and feeling to that which you sense is behind creation and consistently asking for enlightenment. This is the very first step a person must take towards the glorious moment when he or she will make contact with the divine and then move forward by means of continual cleansing of the ego drive to the re-entry into the heavenly state out of which your soul was born and took its individuality. And how did this creation of individuality come about? As I said before, universal consciousness reached a high point of mutual restraint and an explosion took place which tore apart the impulse of creative will from the impulse of loving purposes, which separated and became active within creation as Father intelligence, mother love, seen as electricity, magnetism, bonding, repulsion, life, reunified in equilibrium as divine consciousness, life. Therefore, far from being solid and imponderable matter, in reality, the visible world is mind activity working always in conjunction with emotional magnetic bonding repulsion, also known as attraction rejection. Father intelligence, physical electricity, and mother love, physical magnetic bonding rejection, together produced a child, the ego. This impulse of individuality was born and took undeviating and consistent form within the energies of creation to ensure that the various electrical forces expressed as protons and electrons and the rest of the particle gang excitedly discovered by science should not fly off uninterruptedly into a distant, formless state, but should be restrained and controlled by the magnetic bonding rejection impulse of mother love to bring about manifested form. Science may dispute the foregoing paragraphs, since it has been at great pains to describe the various bonding processes by applying differing word terms to the bonding energies. Science is welcome to call the bonding or attraction energies by any term they wish, but the fact remains that these energies have taken on form from the grand and primal impulse of mother love, whose primal consciousness function is to give form to individuality. The impulse of father intelligent life gives electrical momentum to creation. The impulse of mother loving purposefulness gives the bonding to restrain the electrical momentum and bring it under control within the individuality. The impulse of mother loving purposefulness gives the repulsion rejection impulse to ensure the survival of the individuality. That is the process of creation. Science can only approach creation as a spectator. Although its ambassadors are human and experience life for themselves, the human mind can only observe what has been created. It cannot enter into the intimate processes of creation hidden within matter and the most basic fields of energy. Science will never be able to pinpoint the motivating factor X which gives rise to the energies which are in control of the creation of individual form. But what science has to say on the matter of creation is of little moment to you as an individual. Science will not change your lifestyle, health, environment, personal feelings, and achievements one iota. What you need to know, and what I have come expressly to tell you, is how to escape the selfish, possessive, protective drive given you by the ego to ensure your individuality and survival and your inbuilt longing to return to the joy and happiness out of which all creation took life. This provides you with a reason why I originally came to earth and am coming to you at this present time, to do something that no scientist can ever do for you. Help your soul emerge from the confines of your ego drive and embark on a new program of thought, emotional living, which will directly express the Father-Mother conscious life injected into you and all humanity at the moment of conception. Because the ego itself possesses the electric momentum of activity, creativity, and the emotional magnetic impulses of bonding rejection, whatever is born of the ego drive by its thoughts, feelings, and actions is charged with physical electromagnetic life which will produce replica life forms and will be eventually materialized within the life of the ego creator.